Hello, as you all know, I'm Xavier, and I'm here today to persuade you fellow classmates on the idea that we need to expand nuclear energy. Now you guys may wonder, why should we do this? Nuclear energy can be dangerous, and it can pose high risk to people all around the world. Well, to start things off, nuclear energy is the most efficient out of all the green energy sources we have available to us today. Compared to solar and wind energy, nuclear energy is in a completely higher level when it comes to energy production, land use, and units required to produce that power. On average, a nuclear power plant will be producing around 1,200 megawatts of power, while only, according to Amaran, Missouri, taking up about 1.4 square miles of land. Now, if you want to replicate this with wind power, you would need a lot of wind turbines and a lot of land. On average, a turbine working at full efficiency will be producing about 1.5 megawatts of power. But since they only operate at 30% efficiency, you're only getting around 0.45 megawatts of power. So in order to get the 1,200 megawatts of power that a nuclear power plant produces, you would need around 2,670 turbines to achieve that. On top of that, each turbine, wind turbine, needs about 100 square feet to operate. So you would need a piece of land that's around 51 square miles in order to house all these turbines to operate and produce that power. Now, if we compare solar to wind, it is just as bad. When it comes to photovoltaic cells, you would also need a lot of land and a lot of cells. With each cell producing around 2 watts of power, according to the Department of Energy, to get the 1,200 megawatts of power, you would need an astounding 600 million cells. Like, wow, that's just incredible. And on top of that, you would need a piece of land that's a 9 mile by 9 mile or an 81 square miles in order to fit all these cells. I don't know about you, but obviously with nuclear energy only needing one power plant and 1.4 square miles to produce 1,200 megawatts of power, it is the most efficient and the better source of energy compared to solar or wind. On top of being very efficient, it is also one of the cleanest and safest energy sources compared to other energy sources such as coal. Nuclear energy, being a green energy source, does not produce any of the greenhouse gases or any hazardous gases that coal produces. According to this chart right here, coal energy on an average per year will be producing around 3.7 million tons of carbon dioxide, 10,000 tons of sulfur dioxide, 500 tons of small airborne particles, 10,200 tons of nitrogen oxide, 720 tons of carbon monoxide, 220 tons of hydrocarbons, 170 pounds of mercury, and 225 pounds of arsenic, and 140 pounds of lead, 4 pounds of cadmium, and other toxic materials. And this incredible amount of hazardous materials being produced by a coal power plant can lead to many things such as heart problems, bronchitis, lung problems, breathing problems, premature death, and stuff like that. As you can see, nuclear energy, while producing none of these things, is much cleaner. But wait, you guys might think, what about the radiation? Well, a nuclear power plant does produce radiation, but the chances of you being harmed or killed by it are very slim. A nuclear power plant is made to be secure and not let any radiation out. When it comes to a reactor, there are many safety features in place to keep the radiation from escaping. First, a concrete liner houses the reactor pressure vessels, which acts as a radiation shield. That is then housed inside a large steel containment vessel which blocks any leakage of radioactive gas or liquids. After all this, the reactor is surrounded by a concrete barrier that can be up to 4.5 feet thick. Yes, just about as tall as I am. A foot or so, a little over a foot short. So as you can see, the likelihood of radiation escaping and harming us is slim. All these features are intended to stop any radiation that's produced during energy production, and if there is a meltdown, for that not to escape. So you may wonder, what about Chernobyl? Well, one of the reasons why it was so bad and all that radiation escaped was because of a a design flaw. They left out one important barrier in their plant design, and that was the 4.5 feet thick barrier around the reactor. If that had been there, radiation would have been trapped, and the workers could have found a way to fully contain this and prevent everything that happened from happening. So as you can see, nuclear power is by far the most efficient form of energy, and it's clearly the cleaner and from any other form of fossil fuel energy such as coal. With all that in mind, I think you would agree that nuclear energy should be expanded. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed and have a good day.